Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Straight to the Money podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Silver. Today's episode is brought to you by Silver Property Ventures. If you need real estate coaching or if you want to be active in the wholesale space, Silver Property Ventures LLC. And today on the podcast, I have my good and dear friend, Adrian Martinez. Adrian is someone who I met while working in the automotive space, quite literally saved my job with just advice to me numerous times, gave me some sage advice so many times. We're going to get into that. Adrian, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dylan. Great to be here.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I mean, I want to just dive right into Nissan, but before we get into that, tell folks a little bit about your backstory. I know that you were a dent repair. You know, that was, I believe, what you were doing when I was knowing you, and then also after and beforehand. But how did you get into the automotive space?
Well, when I was 16, I got a job at Gun Nissan in their make ready department. So when I was there was a guy that came in, did dent repair for them, and became friends with him, watched him fix cars, kind of infatuated by it. So kind of got into it there, saved the money to learn because you have to pay to learn. It's kind of like a school. Saved 5 grand, paid it to the company that he was working for. He was supposed to train me because he was the only dent guy there. The owner tried to take my 5 grand, not give it to him, and train me when he doesn't know what he's doing. So my buddy kind of got upset. It's like, hey, I'm leaving. And I was like, I had a option to get my 5 grand back if I had left before a month, which we were in a couple of weeks. So I got my 5 grand back, and me and him left and started Alamo City Dent Repair. He trained me in the garage of his house, and that's how I
You're
learned. And
17, you're like 18 at this time?
I'm 18, dude. I'm a week out of high school. Like I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew that PDR back then was so niche. Now you have 50, 60 companies in San Antonio that do it. Back then there was three of us, three companies that did it. I mean, we had the whole market. You know what I mean? So it was something new. People didn't know. I mean, people always painted if there was a dent, they would paint it. You know what I mean? Or sell the car with a dent. Like, there was no fixing a PDR. To take metal tools behind the panel and work the metal out, that was unheard of back then. You know what I mean? You're talking 97, you know what I mean? It was brand new, to the automotive industry. So we had all the market and, just learned it. And then I think my buddy passed away maybe 4 years later. So I inherited the entire company, you know what I mean? Started expanding it, you know what I mean? So it was good times. And then COVID hit, and the company that I was working for was BMW, and they just downsized to a cheaper option. And I was like, man, if a company like BMW, is gonna have an inferior dent guy there that's cheaper. I mean, what is this? What is this whole market now? It's not a Mazda store. You know what I mean? I'm working on $100,000 BMWs. You know what I mean? And you're gonna go to a cheap option? Like, okay. You know what I mean?
Adrian, have
So
you ever seen the movie The Big Short?
the Big Short, yeah, that's what people ask me. What's the scariest movie you ever seen? That's the one I say.
Do you
You
know
know,
Steve Carell's character in that movie?
yeah,
Do you resonate with him personally?
yeah. He's a bullshit detector, man. Like it's a good character. You know what I mean? He's I like that character. I like that movie in general. I think it kind of shows what's wrong with America. You know, you can allow banks to give out these loans, profit from it, pay their employees, their executives, and then when it shit hits the fan, you bail them out on the backs of American public. Like it's just
It's sick. It's sick.
it's sickening, and it really is what's wrong with America. You know what I mean? The little guy will always have to bear the brunt of all this. You know, all the malfeasance of all these banks, what they're doing right now. It's the same thing. Like Elon's trying to downsize the government, find waste, and instead of being happy for it, you guys, the left is, villainizing him for it. It's like somebody calling you from your bank and saying, "Hey, we found this person is stealing thousands from your account," and your reaction is like, "Why are you looking into my account?" You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
Crazy
You
chaos
should
out
be, you
here.
should be applauding this. And that you watch what Argentina has done with their president and downsizing the government. When somebody tells me what's wrong with America, it's the size of bloat of the government. It's become too big, too massive, too wasteful, and you can't run on $1 trillion deficits every year. You kick the can down the road. It's just not possible to keep on this path. And we're not the only ones with children and grandchildren. You're going to just kick this can down the road, and now your children are going to have a $50 trillion deficit. You're at 36 right now. You're going to be at 50, 60. I mean, at what point do you fix this? You know what I mean? So it's become just an absolute disaster. But don't let me just get carried away, dude. Like, stop me.
Adrian, I gotta say this. I gotta say this. You are loved. You know, I mean, just straight up, brother. I I remember sitting down at your sales desk and having this exact same conversation. This was the tone. This was the tone. Dylan, are you seeing this shit? Are you seeing this shit? Are you seeing what's going on out here? You really think that this can just go? What are they doing? What are they doing? Yeah, the Fed, like, this is crazy. This is what you think we could just take the dollar off the gold standard and just print money and fund wars, and that it's just gonna be fine. Like, this
Well,
is this is chaos out here. Because what you need to do. This is, by the way, this is like 2023, like January, like March time frame. It's probably like 10 p.m. at night, and Adrian and I are still the only two people there, and there's a sales manager. He's like, what you need to do is you need to, go to a third world country, you know, find, a nice woman, and that's it. Like, find
hmm
you a woman with traditional value. And I'm like, listening, because you're talking in decibels that are barely audible. So I'm like, and that's it. You just, you ride out, you take your little nest egg, you take, 500 grand, and, that may not be enough to survive like a handful of years here, but in Colombia. And I'm sitting here looking at you like, what are you talking about?
right. Everybody, think about having 1.5 million, $2 million and just going to Panama or Costa Rica, buying a home with land for 100 grand, eating for $3 a day, and I'm talking breakfast, lunch, and dinner, $3 a day, and having a little wife that's, you know what I mean, happy to have you, not these brats you were dating. They were like, "Hey, can you kill your dog and drown it in the bathtub for me?" And you're like, "What? It's my dog." Yeah, I just can't. It doesn't behave itself. And you're just in shock with these fucking idiots that you're dating. And I'm just like, man, these American women, and these were Hispanic American women too. That's how bad it's getting, bro. You're just dealing with nonsense. I mean, you're the type of nice guy that's gonna get eaten up by a horrible woman if you don't pay attention.
Do you remember? I was telling you that my girlfriend at the time had shown up with Starbucks and was like, "Hey, I don't mean this in any way, but it's either me or the dog."
Oh, I remember.
And I was telling you this, and you were like looking up. You were like multitasking, and then you're like, Dylan, how bad is this dog? you're like, you're like,
I'm not a dog. I like dogs, but I don't own a dog. So I just got to know, like, I've heard enough dog stories from you that it's like, what is going on? You had a dog that needs to be out in a ranch in the fucking 800 square foot apartment like a dumb shit. You know what I mean? And the dog's freaking out. You're freaking out. Like, it's just, it's, dude, like, you need to have a little, lazy dog that doesn't want to do anything
What
kind
I
of.
learned is that with Texas, a lot of your Texan women, some of our listeners, right? They say they like dogs. However, what they really mean is chihuahuas. If you have a chihuahua or a miniature toy poodle, I
Yeah.
love dogs.
Those little dogs that are
Yeah.
just, you know what I mean? Just want to
No
hang.
shedding,
Mhm.
you know, that's it. You can put them in, like, this is
Did
their
this, dog,
movement.
did this dog destroy some of her shit? I mean, what did this dog do to her personally that she wanted you to get rid of your.
Both of them, I had two girlfriends who strongly disliked the dog. Uh, the first one is the one that we'll talk about because the second one, we're not going to get into that. But the first one, uh, uh, by all extents, we had a decent, relationship, or so I thought. But she felt like the apartment was absolutely a mess, which I can agree. It was because of the dog.
Sure.
The dog was getting potty trained, so it was like peeing on mats and stuff. It was just straight
Mm.
dog apartment, right? But I think you came over there and you wanted to see the dog. God bless you, Adrian. You're like, Dylan, how bad is it? How bad is this dog? Let me go see the dog. So we're on a break. We go to the apartment. We see the dog, and he jumps on you a little bit. He's happy to see you. He's happy to see you, and you go, yes, dog's a bit big. Dog's a bit big. It's really more of a ranch dog. And I was like, yeah, I mean that's it. That's it, man. It wasn't. But
You know what I mean? But
went
here's the
for the
deal,
loose
like,
zone.
wasn't she like older than you with like two kids? Like, this is the kind of, you know what I mean? It's kind of brat you're dating, dude. Like, she's lucky. She's lucky you're even talking to her. You know what I mean? This.
I didn't know that, Adrian, and in case she's listening, fine lady, nothing against her,
Listen,
but
listen to me. First of all, you come with baggage of two children. It's like you are not to make any demands. All right,
Jesus Christ.
you don't like this is the mindset of these women, dude. And I hate to be like what's that black guy Kevin Samuels that passed away recently. This is the way he would treat these women. Like, shut your fucking mouth. Like, get, you know what I mean? You have two children with some dude that doesn't want to be with you. You know what I mean? You're lucky to be talking to my boy Dylan. You know what I mean? Like, stop making demands. You've been dating him for like 3 weeks, and you're gonna tell him to get rid of his dog. Like, this is a brat level shit that I'm. It's insane. There's like no self awareness,
I
no
will
self.
say, in their defense, and because I'm also still, I haven't achieved full-time gambling, poker playing escape velocity that you've achieved. I can't be as ruthless. I might have to be employed at some point in the future. These ladies, really can get their pick of the litter, and they're beautiful women. They can get their pick of the litter. So here comes average Dylan, sales job, doing decently, making $60,000-$70,000 a year. But
They can't get their pick of the litter.
Jesus, Adrian.
There's the difference, bud. Like, you know what I mean? But can you keep a man where he marries you and wants to take care of you? You know what I mean? That's the difference. Like, you're looking at two different things and thinking they're the same. They're not. You know what I mean? She'll probably be single and have multiple boyfriends. Yeah. Okay. Will somebody marry her? Maybe. You know what I mean? Will they put up with her bullshit? Like, I mean, come on. You know what I mean? She's a good looking girl, but dude, how many men are going to step up and raise two kids that are not theirs? You know what I mean? It's not something that's, you know what I mean? In a lot of men's where they want to do that. You know what I mean? Maybe when she gets in, she marries an older man, and she's with a 40-year-old or something like that. Yeah, maybe. But you were younger than her. You're going to step up and raise two children that aren't yours? Is that your plan?
Oh man, I mean, right now we're just going in on this. I feel like you've said everything that I think, but just never actually enunciate. But you know,
Right. So you were dating her
oh,
for the meantime, for the 6 months. for the companionship,
Honestly, if it wasn't,
intimacy for the intimacy. But once it got heavy, you weren't gonna marry her, were you?
no, I probably if she wasn't gonna do the dog thing with her, I would have definitely considered for strongly because I did really like spending time with her, and so I think what happened for me was we were having these conversations at Nissan, and you were saying to me like, Dylan, what you have to do is realize that you know there's no loyalty here. What do you think they're gonna do? What do you think they're gonna do? And I'm like, Adrian, why are we talking like we're on the out, you know, the wire, and we're being hunted? And you're like, because it's a fight out here. This is a freaking war out here, Dylan. This is a war. You can't. They're coming for you. They're coming for you. So you're telling me this advice. I'm now getting my sales up from like literally 2 a month to then 18 and a half at one point. So I'm fully in your corner. I'm like, whatever it is that Adrian is telling me when it relates to sales, I'm pretty much going to do, you know? And then you were like, what you have to do is you have to go to a third world country. And just. So what did I do, Adrian?
Went to third world country and like
That's right.
fell in love in a week. Like I knew you fall in love, but dude, hold your water a little bit.
Adrian, oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, you were the inspiration. When are you going? When are you going? When are you going?
I had a passport, and I was gonna go with you on one of these trips eventually. But yeah, I need to just get my passport and go. And
It takes about 6 months, dude.
yeah, I
It
know.
does
I
take a
mean,
while.
I just not there yet. I still have a daughter that's 14 that I get every other weekend, and
Yeah.
want to be here for her. So I've talked to them about me moving to Mexico, and I was born in Mexico, so I have a Mexican birth certificate. You know what I mean? And I would love to live, in some little apartment or something by the beach and just, dude, the cost of living is here has become unmanageable for people who
It
try
is
to,
unmanageable.
if you want to try to retire, if you're working and making more money than you spend a month, then you're fine. But if you're retired, you're gonna burn through your retirement.
You will.
In medical, in food, in gasoline, and like insurances and stuff like that. Think about what a monthly nut is for somebody, and being on a fixed income where they're not bringing in money anymore. It's gonna be
It's chaos out here.
right. But I have, it's like I've always told you, where it goes back to this government, and you know what I mean. You got to get yourself out of the U.S. dollar, whether it be Bitcoin, gold, silver, something like that. You're in real estate, so you understand. It's the same thing. These real estate, gold, silver, Bitcoin, they're not different things. They're all cousins. You know what I mean? And the cousin is getting out of the U.S. dollar. And putting your money to work for you, essentially. So you're buying real estate to where you could flip it, keep it, put it as a rental property. Same thing as putting away gold. When I was buying gold, I was buying it at 1,400 an ounce, 1,300 an ounce. It's sitting at what, 3,100 today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this isn't that many years back, Dylan. This is 10 years ago. The money's doubled. It's real inconvenient to go to a coin shop and sell your gold. So it's like it's my savings. Instead of saving it and having thousands of dollars in a bank account, you have a gold coin, you have silver coins. You know what I mean? You have Bitcoin. It's a difference in the way you think about things. You know what I mean? And we go back to the Big Short movie. The government's going to bail out banks for giving out loans to multiple home loans to
Yeah.
people who qualified today for a $200 home. They were giving out $1 million homes.
Yeah, we're.
And then you fast forward to COVID. You're bailing out hotels. You're bailing out cruise lines. You're bailing out casinos. Everybody that's affected by COVID, deeply, which is, the travel and leisure industry, you bail them out again on the backs of American people who are suffering, bro. You know how much groceries cost.
Yeah.
Think about, the single mom who's not on assistance, who makes a little bit more than, being able to get WIC or, and having to buy groceries for several kids and fill up her
It's
gas
gross.
tank.
It's
Dude,
gross.
it's insane.
That's another
It's,
thing you would say. It's
yeah.
gross.
You got to always put yourself in the less fortunate shoes. You know what I mean? Just to be a decent human being, I think it's something that you should do. There's people that are really struggling right now that have $2 or $3, what I mean, trying to see if they're going to put gas in their car, they're going to buy a pack of hot dogs,
Yep.
carton of eggs, you know what I mean? Like real decisions, dude, life and death decisions. You
I
know?
want to pivot a little bit here, Adrian, and
Sure.
on a personal note, talk just about my growth and how you influence that. So one of the I would say biggest factors for me in my growth was realizing that when other people are attacking you, that there's a subtle way to attack them that isn't just in your face aggressive, and you can do that by being petty. Now I've since drifted away from this, but I would say you were an influence on me, for sure. There was life influence, but what I learned is if someone is directly attacking you, is trying to make you lose, just remember that. Like, just have a long memory. You know what I mean?
We shared a friend. We won't say his name. He was my friend, and he was your antagonist. He did not like you. You did not like him, and I hung out with both of you. And it was, I see where your opinion of him was, and you were right. He was real mean to you, and you didn't forget it, and you held a grudge on him for a while. You know what I mean? And he probably didn't think of it after the moment because he was just that's his personality to be,
Scumbag.
yeah, to be no, I mean, to be a piece of shit. I mean, and I would tell him to his face too. He is, I mean, 'cause he was aggressive, and you know what I mean. But at the same time, I would also tell you, look at the way he grew up. His mom died when he was young. His father didn't want him. He was put into foster care with other children. Like he fought and fought and fought. He had a real rough, start to his life. You know what I mean? To make
To
him.
his credit, I will say this: the best salesperson that they had outside their top dog, who they unceremoniously shoot out the door, if you will, which we can get into. And it's not like I have a vendetta against car
You had
dealerships.
a, you had a
But
vendetta
at
against
that
him,
time, I had a vendetta. At that time, I had a vendetta because
right?
it was like they're not doing any favors for the people that help them most be successful. Yes, it's your marketing dollars, but what is it that really helps you be the face of the franchise is your salespeople. Your salespeople are your greatest equity, and
Mhm.
keeping good salespeople around should be your absolute top priority. And I don't know if I'm not going to say who it was, but I have a good buddy at the Dodge store that just left to go to a competitor dealer, and it's just because a lot of things going on, like
Well,
both the brands and the dealers. The brands, like your Toyotas, Nissans, Dodges, need to be loyal to their people, and the dealers need to be loyal to their people.
you can go into brands whether Stellantis is going to make it. Nissan's is in the brink of bankruptcy, but let's talk about the way you do business. Okay, you want us to sell all this product, and you have no no bullshit. Maybe 10 to 12 hurdles that we have to jump to get the bonus on these
Yep.
products that you want us to sell. Like you're making it to where we lose all our pay for one bad survey, for one bad
Yep.
hiccup here, and it's I won't say it's robbery, but it's grossly unfair. And one old lady that just checks the wrong little box on our survey, and you lose 10% of your bonus which is thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? And it's affecting. It can't be by accident. You as a dealership are making these hurdles, and I work for many dealerships. I know people who are managers at many dealerships. My best friend's a manager at Kalik. You know what I mean? They don't have these hurdles. Okay? So you want us to sell $4,900 in product that people don't want, Dylan. Okay? And if one lady checks that there wasn't enough parking outside,
Yeah,
the salesperson would lose that.
for
Yeah,
3 months. For 3 months.
3 months. You're right. And this is why, like, is the question their way of thinking is the question you need to go to the customer and guide them through their survey. Is that the question, or is the dealership not want to pay you what you're deserved and what you've earned?
I would say it's twofold. My perspective was the dealer, by changing the rules, by making that you had to have a higher survey, more surveys, they're making it harder to score, but also the makes themselves are making it harder for them to pay you your bonuses, right? Which,
Right.
what does this lead to? This leads to survey fraud. So now they're having to protect
Right.
against survey fraud because they're realizing that these surveys are so hard. I want to say at the end of it, what was it, like a 30 question survey?
Right. Not only that, but you think about how the manufacturer gives the dealership bonus money for selling said number of Sentras, said number of Altimas. We're talking about a Nissan dealership here. You sell this many Frontiers or this many Titans, you get 100,000 here, this amount here. The salesperson never sees that. So you're selling a brand new car. You're working with the customer all day. You get a $125 Mini, which is, I think the only car that made a little money where you can actually get a bonus is what was a Armada, like fully loaded Armada. Other than that, I've never made more than a Mini on any car that I sold brand new. You would have to sell used cars to actually make a commission. The rest of them, a Mini is considered for the audience. It's just that's the minimum we're going to pay you for a sale. So you're working with a customer all day. Not only did they, all you make is a Mini, now they have a survey in their hands that they can further hurt you. You know what I mean? What is the incentive of selling a new car as a salesman at that dealership? You're not making any commission unless you sell an Armada fully loaded, and then you'll make $300 or $400 instead of a 125 Mini. And then you have to sell, on top of full sticker, you got to sell $4,900 of product. And then you're going to give them a survey, and then you're going to cheat the salesperson out of the product. And that's his only way of making money. For selling a new car, he gets $125, and then he sells the product, and you try to jam him out of that money. Like, it's just
It's
the
gross.
it's gross, and the business, and that's what kind of, I don't want to say soured me, but like I would never go.
Let me tell you what happened for me, and for our audience who's listening. At this point in time, when I was doing what this next story is, I was working 12-hour days, right? It was from 8:30 until at least 8 p.m., right? Sometimes longer than that. I would say often that was my schedule, but I would often be there from 8 a.m. until 11. That would be often happening. On top of that, you're dealing with heat cases. No one's really incentivized to resolve the heat cases except for the top, and they're just going to more or less fix it. So what you have is friction between the car managers, who it comes out of their pocket if they fix it, but then the people at the top are like, no, these are our customers, we need to keep these people happy. So what ends up happening is when you need something done, you go to your car managers and they're like, get it resolved. This is, and they don't tell you why, but it's because it's coming out of our pocket. It's coming out of our pocket. So for me, at the tail end of it, what happened with me is I forget which month, it was like March or April of 2023. I made something like $11,200 selling 18 and a half cars. It was my all-time high. Last day of the month, I remember it like it was yesterday. I sold 5.5 cars in one day and bought a car. We needed to not only sell cars, but we had to actually buy cars to hit our bonuses. And so I was, ecstatic about that. The next month, there's, a number of issues that happen. and surveys were one of them. And there was, you know, logistics errors even with the surveys. People getting surveys that they shouldn't have gotten, like actual salespeople getting assigned other salespeople as customers. Just a mess, right? I sold 14 and a half cars, and I want to say that before taxes, I made less than $4,000, roughly. So I went from 11.2 to less than $4,000, and it was only a 4 car difference. And it was the same number of hours, the same effort, right? And I'm thinking like, what's going on here? You know, what's going on? Am I working all these hours for this? It didn't check out. So at that point in time, I was pretty much like, look, all these things need to happen. You know, I need to get an assistant. You know, this person who's not treating everybody with dignity cannot be in charge of these people. I need guaranteed days off. You know, and a couple other things, and almost got it, but couldn't get a full commitment, and then ended up going into the real estate space.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, you were there for that. Speaking of which, you thought that whole time you were like, "There's no way they're gonna do this."
Oh no, I called you pocket nines. I mean, the poker.
Fucking honest.
Going back to a poker reference is always poker with me. You know what I mean? You can jam with pocket nines. You could, you know what I mean, and get it through. You know what I mean? I wouldn't, but you know, a lot of people would. You know, and you did it, and I was watching it just in amazement. You know what I mean? You got we won't say her name, but a lady who was very rude to the salespeople, demoted, and not demoted, but like having to
Removed.
removed from position.
That job, yeah.
And I remember talking to the GM about her, and I was, me being Hispanic and growing up with Hispanic women, like I told him, because he's a white guy, and I was like, you can't give some of these Hispanic women authority, and he was like, yeah. I remember him leaning back in his chair and going like, I was hitting him like, like she's just out of her skin. You know what I mean? And I told him, I was like, I grew up with Hispanic women just like that. You know what I mean? Whether they be in the DMV, you know what I mean, in a nurse's office, in a doctor's office, running a dentistry, you know what I mean? Like you start giving them authority, they start acting like, you know what I mean? They're the president of the United States, kind of like a mentality of like arrogance that you can't even.
You can't even. I will say this though, I don't share your same sentiment about this specific demographic of person, but if you're behaving this way, there's absolutely no way that you should be employed. If you're raging at people, if you're persecuting people, not just without evidence, but without even the shred of evidence, like you're just seeing what validates your like emotions that day, and you're doing it against everybody.
Right.
Like it's
And to her defense, she had rheumatoid arthritis. She felt bad. You know what I mean? She's not a type of person that's mean spirited. You get her without away from the desk, away from she's a nice person. You know what I mean? But having to deal with 14 salesmen or 20 salesmen. You know what I mean? Is that her, or is that, her responsibility? I mean, what is it? You know what I mean? But there's no way you talk to people like that. And
you can't. I mean, it was really, really bad. They lost the top salesperson because of her.
right, they lost a top salesman. They lost a lot of salespeople because of her. I'm sure a lot of exit interviews mention her name, and being a grown man, being talked to like you're
A disgrace.
not a disgrace, Dylan. It's almost like
It was really, really bad. It was awful.
it's like a pissed off mom, but like a weird, ugly mom. Like it's like
Yeah. Yep.
Why are you doing this? Like, why didn't you clean your room? Like, why did you leave the toothpaste cap off? You know what I mean? It's just like
She was doing it to literally assert her dominance over us, and that
right.
got a dopamine rush. Like that was how she felt.
Right, and
Good.
that's what I'm trying to tell you.
You know?
And assume the dominance. Like she didn't have any dominance. She stopped the meeting and goes, "Adrian, I'm a manager, right?" And like, yeah, like, on the tower in front of everybody, I'm a manager, right? And I'm just we had no problem. Like she just stopped the meeting to tell me that. Like, oh, okay, you're a manager, I guess. Like, you know what I mean? I pencil a deal, discount this car. You know what I mean? You could do
Oh,
any
I
of that.
can't do that. No.
You can't do any of that. No. So you just want to, you know how to do the survey. You know how to. That's about it.
Let's
You know.
pivot a bit here, Adrian. Right now, before we hop in the podcast, I asked you what you were doing because last time I spoke with you, you were in Houston doing PDR, and you said, "Oh, I'm playing cards and gambling." I said, "That's your full-time job," and you go, "Yeah."
Right. Right. And we go back to the government. We go back to like just checking out of civilized society, essentially. So in here in San Antonio, back about 15 years ago when my daughter was born, I ran a poker house. So they were before they were legal establishments. They were underground. Essentially, rent an apartment at a high rise. On the 17th floor of the high rise apartments, and we ran 2 days a week. So I've been in poker for most of my life. I I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's like if you can get the right demographic. Like I'll put it like this: if you do, let's say you sell insurance or you're in construction or something like that, and you play poker just off and on, you have no business playing poker against guys like me who play all the time, and are going to sit and trap you into money, and then you're drinking beers, you're drunk, you know what I mean? You're in bad shape, man.
Most you ever won or lost at the table? Most you ever won or lost?
Um, Most I've ever won, probably in one night, probably 7 or 8 hours, probably about 8 grand. Most I've lost, I think, I don't really let it go too far. At 2,600 a few weeks ago at a home game, you know what I mean?
What the heck is a home game?
It's a game that's at somebody's house that is not sanctioned by, you know what I mean?
Ah, man, Adrian. So when is this gonna be like indefinite? Is it how long are you riding the South for?
I And this is a conversation I had with my best friend the other day. It was funny that you bring this up because to make it, I need sports and poker, to live comfortably, pay my bills. But I also been trimming down my monthly nut, Dylan. Like I don't,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I don't
Done
spend a
deal.
lot of money. I don't spend a lot of money, on shopping or stuff like that. So I try to keep a but without football and without, I made money on college basketball. I made a ton of money gambling on football, and now it's just going to be poker. I mean, it's got to be, very, very regimented, and just, once I make this amount of money, I'm walking from the table as like
What's the
a
card house in San Antonio that you go to?
San Antonio Card House is the actual name of it. That's the one on 281 and Bitters at the old
Yeah,
Luby's.
yeah, yeah.
Next to the old gun Nissan, um, and then the lodge bought Rounders off of Wurzbach, kind of were down the street from where we used to
I
work.
remember that place. Yeah.
The one behind the HEB. You know what I mean? So
Man, what a life! What a life!
where me and our friend Josh plays. You know what I mean? But
I was just gonna bring up Josh. You must see him there all the time.
yeah, I was seeing him all the time. But
He's good. He's good.
he is a good player. He's a very good player. He has a lot of gamble in him, which is good and bad. And he's lucky, which is really good for him. But my ID expired on my birthday, so they gave me like a week to get and that's not how licenses work now in Texas. You got to an appointment 3 months out. You know
Yeah,
what I
they
mean?
need a blood sample.
Right. So they now I had to bring my birth certificate in and with my adoption papers and shit like that. It's crazy. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Well, Adrian, we're coming up on time here, but I do want to ask you a couple more things before we head out. When I think about my time at Nissan, there was a gentleman, Chuck, who was able to really help me out. I said this when we're coming on. There was my buddy Hari, Hari,
Hmm.
and then there was you. I had some friends who I'm not friends with any longer because I felt like I wanted to bring them with me on my journey, And now I'm looking at back at it, and it's like they didn't even really want to see me succeed. They just wanted to hang out, but they didn't want to see me succeed. That wasn't their intent. But all three of you that I mentioned, Chuck, you, Hari, wanted to see me succeed, wanted to see me go out and do great things. So from your vantage point, looking at me, looking at young people who are in the W-2 workspace, right? And they're trying to get promoted. They're doing everything that they think that they can. Maybe they get a college degree, but they're making 40, 50, $60,000 a year, which isn't really enough to survive. What advice, what general guidance would you give folks who are maybe like the Dylan that you met in those types of jobs? What guidance can you give them?
I think you would need to really look at the situation that you're in, and each situation is different. If you know that there's room for growth, then stay and fight your way to that growth. If there isn't, you need to maybe find another opportunity. And you and me were down on the totem pole. You know, we weren't going to be the next ones. We were virtually new there. The people who are there are not leaving, they're established, and then the next people up, and they were hiring from the outside also, which was another, I think, a big red flag.
Yeah, why were they doing that?
I, I guess they thought that there wasn't anybody there that needed that. I mean, not needed, but that fit, promotions, and that's the biggest red flag, I think, for
It is.
guys like you and me, like, just to watch them promote from the to give management positions to guys from the outside who didn't spend one day with us, but they had experience at another dealership that we were killing. It's like, oh, I guess they didn't want to train,
They
the
didn't.
people, you know, JJ, he got promoted. J Flow got promoted. So, I mean, there was a little bit of promotions from within, but they brought in that guy from Bernie Nissan, and they brought in what's his face, he only lasted a little while. It's just, it's one of those things, like, you want to be promoted from inside. Like, why work hard if you're going to just, give the opportunities to people that, have not spent one day in your dealership.
I saw that too, and what I realized and what it really set in my psyche is that if and when I get to a point where I'm hiring people and I see that people are willing to work hard, I want to do whatever I can aside from pay them more money, to give them more opportunity, to make me money, right? I'm not saying increase your salary. I'm not saying, just
Right.
hand you more commissions. I'm saying give this person the opportunity to earn more commissions. And when that's not happening and when you're lowering commissions, it's gross. It's disgusting.
You're lowering commissions, but think about the month you made 11 grand and how many hours you did work. You were working 60 plus hours a week. You start breaking that down to hourly pay, and you're not making what you think you're making.
Yeah,
You
you're
know,
not.
you're not. You're making 2,800 a week, and you're working 60 hours a week. You do the math. I mean, you know what I mean? You can be a manager at a Whataburger and make that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and you're working less hours, and you have no time for yourself. You know what I mean? It's one of those businesses that, you know, it could be lucrative, it cannot be, but I think the dealership we were at, the pay scale we were at, it didn't work. It doesn't make sense. In some
I I've heard that it's a I mean, when you look at the team that we had, you know, Angel, Lou, you, uh, who else were the guys there? Julio,
J
J
Flow, who,
Flow.
Hari, Shane,
Yeah, dude, they were killers.
Mark. You know what I mean? Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, and it's like, Yogan did his thing. You know what I mean? It's just, everybody worked their asses off, and we're making less and less money on selling the same amount of cars. Every car is a mini, like I said. I mean, to even just, to work all day with the customer and make $125. I
It's
mean,
it's tough.
It's really tough, and it's like if you don't sell any product on top of that, which is the $4,900 of nonsense, you know what I mean? It's just,
I
you
want to
know,
mention this. So the 49, I was so bad at the 49, right? At the end of it, I would just tell people, hey, we called it the full boat, which is like the sales term for when you effectively sold them everything under the sun,
yeah,
whether they needed it or not. Which, by the way, now that I'm on the outside looking in, I'm like, dude, the car business is brutal.
it's
But
brutal. And think about those same people who bought the car at full sticker, who bought the $4,900, and now they're trying to trade out of that vehicle, and what how upside down they are, and what a bad position we put them in. And to have as a salesman, you can't have that kind of mentality. You can't have that heart. But just as a human being, you got to be a little bit, just compassionate in some sense of, and their mentality is, well, if we don't fuck them, somebody else is gonna fuck them. You know what I mean? And I was told that by managers. I won't say his name, but I mean, it's just essentially that's their mentality. You know what I mean? So now these same people are trying to trade in this Nissan with 50, 60,000 miles that they bought 2 or 3 years ago, and they're 10 grand, 15 grand upside down, Dylan. Try to get that through into a new car. You know what I mean? Try to put 15K negative equity into a brand new car, and what's the bank going to say? Because that's the other part of it. There's a third party involved, which is a bank who's going to finance this car. Our dealership is not financing the car. Nissan has their own bank. They'll do some financing, but they weren't that good of a finance. You know what I mean? So now you're at, Randolph Brooks. You're at Security Service. You're at some, third party lender, and you're gonna take a new car loan with a 15K negative. Like you're done. You're screwed. You're stuck in that car. You know, and we put them in that position through the whole COVID cycle. And it was not just our dealership, it was every dealership,
yeah.
and now, I mean, you were selling, my buddy at Mercedes couldn't do it, and he was selling G Wagons at 100K markup. It's like, you know, if you're capable of buying a G Wagon, I guess it doesn't matter to you, but like we were selling Nissans to mom and dads, to regular folk, you know what I mean? And, you see all the struggles that Nissan's having with just their business as a whole, and going bankrupt and trying to merge with Honda and stuff like that. I mean, you're just, now you're going to trade in this Altima and you're negative equity at 9, 10 grand, you're stuck in that car. There's nobody's going to give you the
There's no
money
recovery.
nobody's going to give you the money that you owe on it. And you're trying to, maybe trying to buy a Honda Accord now, and so now you're going to try to put 10 grand over the cost of that Honda Accord onto your next loan. Like it's not feasible, man. And
Uh,
you know, and it's a sad state for the, you know,
Humanity, really, but as Americans, for sure. I mean, it's happened all.
right.
It was and is.
And my buddy who sells cars, you know, April 2nd is when the tariffs start. So now on his cars that he's getting, he's a manager at a Subaru store. I mean, they're telling them that they're getting these cars. They're just not telling them how much they cost. So he knows what cars he's getting, how much they used to be, but he doesn't know what the new prices is going to be. You know what I mean? So you're how do you go? And this is Wednesday. We're here in March 31st. So in April 2nd, which is in 2 days, the tariffs start on all these foreign cars that are not manufactured in the United States.
My
So
birthday.
if you're not selling a domestic, your business is about to change, and now you're adding that on to the customer. And I see where Trump's going with tariffs. I mean, he wants to bring manufacturing back to the United States. I get his play. There's going to be some short-term pain to get some long-term manufacturing jobs for middle America to have real jobs. But this is it goes back to what we talk about the dollar. I mean, losing its value. That's the real when you, it's like you being sick and somebody just giving you medicine for your symptoms and not treating the virus that you have.
You
The
should be a
virus.
mindset coach, Adrian. I think when I start having these real estate events, I need to have you on as a guest speaker to just come and like, just you know, slap people in
Am
the
I?
face proverbially.
Well, that's a good way to put it because I'm not a mindset coach and being the super positive. I'm more realistic of the state of American, economy. It's not feasible for the average American. You know what I mean? That's why, you asked me why I'm playing poker and gambling on sports, right? I don't want to be a part of this system anymore. That's just, you know what I mean? It's just brutal. It's just brutal to people. You know what I mean? And now
When
I'm
Adrian, when can I get you out to the Dominican Republic? I've asked you like 5 times. Like I'm going to live there. By the way, My goal is to live there, beginning October, beginning of October of this year.
October. Like, what do you? I mean, my whole thing with you is like you're still young. You need to make a fortune. You know what I mean? I would like to see you, do that, but $2 or $3 million in assets to where
Thank you.
where you can live comfortably and be the kind of and live the life you want to. I mean, I could see you $2 or $3 million living in the Dominican Republic and in having a great life. You know what I mean?
My goal is to have set up a residence over there. You can get beautiful oceanside, like 2 bedroom apartment, top story for $600 a month. Gorgeous, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Um,
That,
and
that how much is that same apartment in Miami?
probably like 12 grand, something like that a month.
Oh yeah. That's
Probably about 12 grand, I would say. Yeah.
right. And the women are as beautiful. The time you're gonna have is as nice. You know what I mean? There's some language barrier, but I mean, there's something that you can learn. You're a smart kid. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, if you're gonna try to do that with 20K in your bank account, like, it's gonna fade you out.
This is what I'm doing. So I'm gonna get remote work in the United States, which I'm working on, and we can talk more about the podcast off the podcast. But also, I'm gonna do about 3 weeks there, 1 week in the U.S. The flights there and back, like round trip, you're looking at $400, 350 if you don't bring any bags. You go, you fly through. You think I'm messing with you? It's true.
Well, I get it, but what do you mean? Don't bring any bags? You're gonna buy
You
clothes
don't you,
there when you
you
get
don't
there.
think that I haven't already sent all my wardrobe over to the Dominican Republic? I have.
I'm sure you found the loophole, but it's just
I
funny.
sent all my I sent all my I have all my clothes in the DR right now.
Uh,
Okay, I don't have to bring anything. All I do is I bring a
where's your
truck.
clothes with the X?
No, yeah, it's with my woman in the DR. So she's got my clothes in the in her place, and so uh,
Maybe you might have sold them.
yeah, who knows? We don't really, you know what I mean? But $400 round trip. I remember you could go a year ago, $30 between San Antonio to Miami, one way, $30. Now, granted, everyone says, "Oh, blah 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 blah," but I'm like, look, it's so cost effective. So I'll do 3 weeks over there. I can work remotely. You only need like $1,500 a month to live decently well, and then come back to the United States. If I have my license, I'll close a deal. You know, make 5 grand once every 2 months and continue to grow, continue to grow. Who knows where that takes me? I'm not saying I'm gonna do that indefinitely, but I'm gonna do it for a couple of months. I'm gonna do probably 3 weeks here, 1 week here, or 3 weeks there, 2 weeks here, and just keep doing that. And this might
I
be a
could,
different
I could see
conversation.
you doing that, having a Dominican wife and half Dominican kids. You know what I mean? Like, that wouldn't surprise me at all. To me, as like your friend, I would like for you to make a fortune here, do it more, you know what I mean, in your 30s, maybe early 40s, you know what I mean? Uh, Maybe it's, you do it the opposite way. You start building your foundation over there and having your roots over there, Dominican wife, Dominican kids, you know what I mean? I could see it,
I can
you
see
know.
it too. Adrian, where can folks? We're coming up on time here. Where can folks go to get a hold of you if they want to get in touch with you?
They can't. I mean, they can go to the San Antonio Card House and play cards with me every night. 4 or 5 times a week. I mean,
Well, Adrian, we appreciate your insight. I might have to heavily edit some of this podcast so I can maintain employment, but uh,
I didn't know there was rules, and you didn't explain the rules of not cursing and talking about other things. You know what I mean? So that's your fault. So I mean, I thought we were having a conversation. I mean, we're all adults.
I might just release it as is. I don't know. But I did get a real estate license today. I do work for other people, so we will see what happens. But until next episode, till next time, this has been the Straight to the Money podcast with yours truly, Dylan Silver. And look, if you're in the W-2, and today we talked a lot about just the really dark way that a lot of employers will treat their employees, just like literally numbers, just without any shred of dignity. It's really sad the way businesses can sometimes treat employees. Just know that there's opportunity out there. You could be going into the real estate space. You could be a professional gambler like my buddy Adrian over here, and there's opportunity for you. Go to a third world country. Go see what's out there. There's opportunity for you. Adrian, thank you for coming on here today.
Dylan, it's been great to see you and talk to you, and best of luck with all your, your whole businesses and stuff like that. There's no one rooting for you harder than me. I mean, we love you very much.
Thank you, man. We'll have to do this again. Take
All
care.
right.
All right, stay